What's up, everybody? What's going on? I'm Patrick Cloud, and I'm actually really excited to have this guy on the channel finally. This is Jesse Wright. I want everybody to meet this dude, burn this image into your head because this is literally the future of gaming. I'm gonna give my quick little overview, Jesse, and then I'll let you in. But
Okay.
yeah, so I met this dude years ago at this point, right? Like a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 years now.
2 or 3 years ago, he
That's
messaged me
crazy.
on Facebook, and at that time, I don't know how far along you were, but you were just creating this game. And at that time, it was a game app. You wanted it to just be an app, right? Like in the App Store.
Yeah, at first we were just making like a small. Yeah, it was more of a smaller scale, like arcade experience. Yeah.
Right. I remember that. You messaged me on Facebook. Yeah, he told me about this game. It was a fighter, and it was based in the world of Corrupt. And it's they're all superheroes, but what basically piqued my interest was it's all black characters, Latina characters, and it's so cool because ever since then, in this short amount of time, you've been getting so much traction all the way to the point where you got a game coming out on the Nintendo Switch. You got another game coming out on who knows what. I'm not even about to say anything you're not legally allowed to to
Yeah.
disclose to the public. But yeah, this is Jesse Wright, the developer designer of this new game, and I wanted to have him on the channel, just to not only talk about the game, but to just let our community know about it and just to watch it because it's so important. And I'm gonna let you talk about like what inspired the game. I've heard the story millions of times. He has a great story about what how he grew up with our current environment of superheroes, and what we have access to, who looks like us, who doesn't. And yeah, all of that led up to Corrupt. So Jesse, I want you to take it from here. Tell us about you. Tell us about the game. Tell us about both games because you've got two games in development. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, what an intro. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, the biggest thing was with black superheroes and just making those kind of characters. Like I don't know. When I was super young, I remember being a super like huge like Batman fan, and just I love superheroes, of course. Dragon Ball Z, seeing Goku and so many dope characters.
Right.
I used to be Batman for Halloween like every year, and it was like second or third grade. One of my friends was like, "Man, you can't really be Batman." It was like, dang, and he was like, "Yeah, Batman's not black." So it kind of,
Ouch.
as a little kid, it kind of just messed you up because I'm like, dang, that's a good point, and I was
Batman
like,
isn't black, huh?
so I'm looking at my Batman action figures crazy, like, man, he lied, but I'm like, this is wild, so we didn't really have. It's dope to see stuff like Black Panther and things like that now because Black Panther wasn't really popping when we were growing up, and really only things we had were really dark like Spawn and Blade. And I remember like my dad used to give me Spawn action figures and comics, but my mom was like, hell no, because it's straight up a dude who doesn't deal with the devil and gets hell powers and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, but that was a black superhero. And then when I first saw Blade, I was like, oh man, this is it, because Wesley
Right.
Snipes was getting down. Like I'll argue with people today, the fight scenes in Blade 1 and 2 are up there with like any Marvel movie out still.
What's crazy, yeah, we talk about it a lot. Like a lot of people don't know that Blade started the whole Marvel series. He did
Yeah.
that, and then do they, and they consider that a Marvel film now, right? But it wasn't considered
So
at first.
Blade 2, they consider like that was, I want to say, like the first Marvel movie, either that or like Spider-Man 1. But Blade 1 proved that comic book movies could be like, they could make like triple or like four times their money in box office. And so that was what
You
gave
don't get the
Marvel
credit
like,
for that though.
no, absolutely not. What's also crazy is they changed the likeness of Blade in the comic books to fit Wesley Snipes. Like people didn't even want to see what Blade looked like if it wasn't Wesley.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, but it's just, it's crazy when I saw something like that. I've always loved video games. I knew I wanted to make video games like my whole life. So it was seeing like a black superhero and seeing that where I was like, man, how dope would it be to have like black characters in games like Final Fantasy and all these amazing RPGs and games I love
Right.
are always missing black people. And if there is a black person, he's just a big like angry dude that just says damn and
In a zombie, it's usually
has
in
a
a zombie
cigar.
game. It's usually in
Yeah,
some type of zombie game. You got a big black dude with a like a fire axe or something.
Well, no, he's got a cigar. He's angry. He's a captain, ex-football player. It's like all the things.
Well, you just described the dude from Final Fantasy VII.
But it's right.
You just described Barrett, yeah.
But it's crazy, like that's like the only depiction we get. Yet it's not that we're ever going into race or ethnicity or anything super crazy in those games. We just don't get that shine. So it's like.
So basically, you as a comic book fan growing up, you just didn't really have somebody to relate to like that. And it was almost to the point where when you did relate to somebody like Batman, you were almost checked by people like, yeah, but Batman's not black though. So that kind of led to you making your own game with black characters and more minority characters, so that doesn't happen to the next generation.
Well, yeah, and what's crazy is like you see so many black people getting into cosplay and different things like that, and that's really starting to become like really popular. And there's not really any black characters that are really cool for them to cosplay. So then they end up cosplaying like a white character, and they get some crazy comments. And some of them really it hurts their feelings, things like that. But it's just crazy, and it's just like there's so many amazing and dope black creators out there, like the artist that designs the characters with me. He's black, and he's worked at Marvel, DC, like he's worked for all the big studios, and it's like we should have black characters in so much more black content for us to be able to cosplay and be and watch, and it's wild because we're the biggest champions of content like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and all those animes. Right. And like the black characters are always some kind of comic relief or super racist in those shows. And it's like the flip side of it is, I mean, if we had like a black Goku or people got behind a black character as much as black people are behind Goku, I mean, it would be crazy.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? That would be bigger than anything. Think of how much those characters get thrown into pop culture with rap, just mainstream stuff, shoe collaborations, clothes collaborations. Right. So it's like, having black characters, those things, I'm hoping maybe we can do really cool things and just collab with so many different creatives, because again, you see a lot of those things happening because there's black people getting in crazy positions out here that want to do these dope art collabs and things. And it's like, now here's some black content to collab with,
That's so cool. And I'm so glad that, you can tell this to the all deaf community. And it's like, I feel like this is the perfect audience for you guys, because we gotta support stuff like this. Like me and the rest of the Arcade Tokens, Will Ferrell, Cleo Thomas, we were going to these cons around around California, and it's crazy to see like, how little we're represented in these genres that I know for a fact we're almost leading at some point. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people, people of color that play video games, and it's like we're not represented. And it's not until we went to EVO, which is a independently run fighting con, that we started seeing the representation. And I was going around talking to people because I knew that this was something that I wanted to do, have a platform for people like this. And it's crazy. Like all of them were saying that, we all play games, but everyone only thinks that we play sports. They all only think we play 2K. They only think we play Madden. Yep. And it's funny, like how the community themselves is aggravated about this, the lack of representation. So this is it, y'all. Like, cause this is, Jesse is somebody who is doing something about that. You know, he did not, just make a game like Grand Theft Auto that everybody else is trying to buy. This is a game that is by minorities and for minorities, which is crazy because even Black Panther isn't Black owned. So y'all, if we're always, complaining about the lack of representation, here it is. So y'all got the chance. We're giving it to this audience first because we feel like this is the audience that will, like, cultivate this. But if we were complaining about it all this time, then this is it. So
Well,
you finally, pushed past this level of like, okay, there are no Black superheroes. So you started creating your own. So walk us through that process. Like, how did you build this world that is now corrupt?
so in my personal life, I know so many amazing like people in my life that I look up to like heroes. So honestly, Gatling, the main character, is based off of my brother. That's why he's going to be voicing Gatling. Because I've always looked up to my brother. I was definitely that little brother that was always like, if
Right.
I don't have an opinion until he says it's cool, and then I'm like, yeah, yeah, So like,
Right.
definitely real life inspirations, like my sisters, my dad, like so many, like to me, really strong and superhero like Black people, in my life that I just kind of base characters off of them or off of just real life experiences like that. And I went with when it comes to like superpowers and things like that, I wanted to go really crazy with it because again, you often find when there's a Black character, a Black superhero in a story, it's like Cyborg. He's got like a Black part of his face, and then
Right.
he's Cyborg, So it's like they all do a
So
cool
wait. What
stuff.
you're saying is the few times they do give us a Black character, they got a little bit of robot in there, like Jax. So it's like, well, it ain't a full Black dude.
Yeah, like we're always missing something, or we're not all together. But like so I wanted like Gatling and Destroy. Like these characters are gonna do some crazy stuff in the comic books in the fighting game. And I want to touch on why fighting game real quick to go back to your point about the representation in fighting games specifically, and that's why I was focusing on fighting games. Man, there's so many of the pro fighting game community is Black, and it's like you saw it. There's so many of them are winning. They're playing so, but then all it is Balrog and Jax, and like that's it. They are pretty much the same. They're like the same kind of archetype. But I'm not sitting here and being like, oh, f those games. That's stupid. It's like we can't expect these Japanese creators. They're not doing it offensively. They might even be like, oh man, I know a Black dude that looks like Jax, and they're basing it off their friend.
Right.
But we can't be mad at that. We just have to create something that makes sense to us. You know what I'm saying? Like so.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Balrog was based off of Mike Tyson, to almost to the point where they almost named him Bison, right?
Right.
But then they had to switch that name to the boss and name him Balrog. But like, those dudes didn't know any Black people. They just saw Mike Tyson and made a
Right, they
version
looked
of
up in the book and were like, "Oh,
that.
Black guy, yeah, he fights, good, perfect for this game." You know what I mean? Like, and that's why they're. I think again, what I'm trying to do is just have cool characters that isn't forcing that on you. Like Gatling is from the hood and overcame this. Like, it's just he's
Right.
Black and he's already doing dope stuff and everything like
But I
that. And
remember you also said that you're not trying to do the whole from the hood thing, but you're
no,
also not trying to do what Hollywood is doing to avoid the from the hood thing, and that's being from Africa and being
oh
like,
man, yeah,
I'm an African king, blah 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 blah. It seems like a lot of stories relate their Black characters to Africa, but you're just like, just none of that, just a Black dope character.
for sure. Just like so again, all those examples I was saying earlier, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, they don't ever go in and say like Goku's Japanese heritage, blah blah blah. You don't ever hear any of that.
It's just they're in Japan.
And we don't even know if they're really in Japan in some of those stories. They're just in crazy worlds. They be blowing up whole worlds in a fight.
Right.
So like that's kind of where it's like these are just Black characters. Just that is what it is. They didn't go through any hardship. We're not talking about slavery. I'm not going into that. Like we don't need to be reminded of anything like that. it just is dope content, and they just happen to look like the person who created
I love
it.
that. So, we have people in the chat saying that, they're also developing a game or they have dreams to develop a game. And this is
Nice.
really, really inspiring to them. So I definitely want to get into like the intricacies of the game, like how you came up with the characters, how it is to, you've told me crazy stories of how people talk to you in this business. So it's like, obviously you're young and black. So it's like, it seems like all the people that you interact with are these rich, old dudes who either don't know how to talk to black people or think they do and say some wild stuff. So I do want to get into that stuff, but just for everybody who may not be familiar, let's just talk about what is Black Salt Corruption and what is Corrupt. Like, explain the game. Black Salt Corruption, it came out last March, I believe, March 2019,
Yep.
and it's soon to release on the Nintendo Switch. So like I was saying, like, when you hit me up, this was just an idea for a game app, but now it's like you're literally seeing footage of your own game being with the Nintendo startup, which must be crazy. So please tell us about Black Salt Corruption and how it is to be on the Nintendo family.
Yeah. So with Black Salt Corruption, and to kind of speak a little bit to the questions of in the comments, like biggest thing is getting into the forums for different game engines. Like I did not go to school for gaming or anything like that, but I just lived in the Unreal forums and the just so many different forums, CG Society, man, just I could go through so many different websites that I just constantly was reaching out to programmers, animators, artists, and then I actually found someone that was willing to do like just different classes and kind of help me learn different things. Like so, for like two to almost 3 years, I was building demos where I was actually working a job to where I could pay people to teach me how to program while we're working on demos that of ideas I had,
Wow.
and always using these characters. So that's one thing is definitely get into the forums and connect with people. People that there's so many people that want to make games just like you, and if you have a great idea, share it with people that are in those forums. That there's some people who are just programmers and don't have any art idea at all. So you could be an artist out there who's like, man, I would love to see my game play like that. And they're like, oh, dude, this would be perfect. So it's like definitely get into those forums and start talking to other developers. But being yeah with Nintendo, that's just such a close thing to me because it was actually a Mario game that made me want to play, or actually make me want to make video games. It was Super Mario RPG on Super Nintendo. I remember like I remember everything about when I started playing that game, but it was something about just like how that combat system was. It was turn based, similar to like Final Fantasy and stuff, but
Right.
it had like a timed action button where, like, if Mario's gonna jump on their head, but you press the A button again, he'll keep jumping on their head.
Right.
Just that, like, and if the enemies hit you, but you block, you hit B at the right time, you'll block it. And like, so that game, after I played it, I actually would like even structure my action figures like that and would write in like composition notebooks like their attacks and make the characters fight like that. So Nintendo, I'm a huge Nintendo and Mario fan. So it's like just seeing that boot up screen with the little, like choose your Nintendo icon and everything. It's like it's so crazy. But and that's another thing, for just the black creatives out there. One of the head of content for independents and like just indie creatives at Nintendo is black. You know what I'm saying? And he's
Really?
always looking for content that's representing. So it's like it's out there. You just gotta you gotta go get it.
That's crazy. No, that must be insane, especially since the first game that you played that made you want to make video games was Nintendo, and now you're on the Nintendo family. That's pretty wild. So let's talk about the actual game itself. So Black Salt Corruption.
Yeah.
It was approved. It's on the Switch now, right? So it's coming. It's not out yet, but is basically on the platform of Nintendo Switch, right?
Yeah. So it's and I don't it probably won't show up real well on here, but like I could just show at least that it's running on here. No,
Oh, is
terrible.
this the official? Is this the official boot up? It's like something on the menu.
Oh yeah, can you?
Ooh, dang! I can only imagine how that feels.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm in here quarantining and playing my own games.
Playing your own game on the Switch. Okay, so have been peeping the artwork, the little videos, the pictures of the characters on the third screen. Tell us, what is Black Salt Corruption? Tell us about the characters. Pretty much just start from the beginning. Let us know about this game.
So Black Salt Corruption is actually a crossover fighting game with me and someone who was a mentor to me when I started working on my characters. Actually, back in like 2009 is when I started writing these characters in my dorm room, actually. And Owen Ratliff, who he owns the Black Salt franchise, he was just a mentor, someone I was reaching out to who had just he had already launched a comic book series and was on his like third or fourth issue at that time and was working on a short film. And, so it was just someone I would bounce ideas off of and just learn so much from. And I want to say like 2015 or 16 or so, we were like, hey, you know what? We should just make a game, or an app or something where we bring our characters together. It would be cool. Like, just you got a black superhero, I've got a black superhero. Let's just throw our characters together. And then it just it evolved. It turned into so many different builds and everything. But then it eventually got to the 3D arena idea, and this game is really what we wanted is just that kind of like arcade, almost Dreamcast experience. And the reason I say Dreamcast is like that was when so many really dope like new ideas and new fighting games were introduced. You had like Dead or Alive had one of its best games on there. That's when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 dropped.
Right.
You had Power Stone in that series dropped. So like it was just such a good like kind of refreshing console with how much the different like fighting games and like how different they were, how they and how frequent they would come out. So again, just wanted to have something that was different. So many fighting games try to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and that was the biggest thing. Is right now it's like on the Switch, we originally released this on Steam Early Access last March, and then it was like the Switch is the perfect platform for this game because it is more of a like couch, you and your friends sitting next to each other playing. It's like
Right.
it's more of that kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's more based on just fun, bringing two properties together. So you do have 4 characters from the Black Salt universe and 4 characters from the COREUPT universe.
Right.
And it's basically just them coming together and fighting. You have several different environments that they meet up at, and yeah.
Okay. So Jesse is a game developer. Obviously, that comes with a certain IQ. Just to break that down for people who think like me, you have this cast of characters that's corrupt, and you collabed with another developer who has a cast of character called Black Salt. So this game, Black Salt Corruption, is basically a Marvel versus Capcom. It's kind of like a merging between these two worlds. It's 2 casts of characters. One half is yours, one half is Black Salt's. And I played it a whole bunch of times. I'm actually better than Jesse at it, which is crazy because he made the game. But yeah, the game is super fun. I don't know if you're, any old school gamers in here. And old school to me, sorry, I'm not that old, but old school to me is like Dreamcast, right? So I know that's not retro, but if you played Dreamcast and you played like a Power Stone or really retro PlayStation 1, like a Battle Arena Toshinden, which is actually one of the games that, inspired you to play this game, to make this game. It's really like one of those run around 3D fighting games that feature both casts of both of these games. So that's the game that's coming out on Nintendo Switch, but you don't have a locked in a lot of people are just asking, when is this out? Is it out now? You don't really have a release date yet, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, with all the current events in the world, kind of kicked the initial launch plan, but we are getting some really awesome things lined up for tournaments and different solutions to things that we have planned in it, and we'll have that very very soon though. Our plan is to launch that, before or in the summer.
Right. Okay. Perfect. And you guys, you guys saw it firsthand. It's on Switch. But let's get into this other game that you have, because it's crazy enough. Even though you have a game coming out on Nintendo Switch, you were smart enough to start developing your follow up in the middle of the production of Black Salt Corruption. So now it's at a stage where it's almost done, and you haven't even dropped the first game. So tell us about Corrupt.
So okay, that's a funny story. It's actually built from like 2013 maybe is when we first started the first build of this. So like this was Corrupt was the back burner project. That's like my baby, So it was like, okay, Black Salt Corruption, get a game out, introduce some of the characters, kind of get familiar with the whole process of just beginning to end with the game, and then yeah, as we've just been getting some things ready for the platform and just the porting process for Black Salt Corruption, we just started, me and so it's actually two separate teams as well. It's the Black Salt Corruption is being ported by a team called Tactile Studios that's helping us out with that.
Okay.
So now me and people that I've actually like have been dealing with for years, just even friends, like that's why I say the forums is so important, because these are people that I've been in contact with since like 2009, 2010, and I've always been talking about Corrupt and like, man, one day, man, we're gonna get to this, So it's like finally we all started kind of like just all right, hey, let's play around and see what happens with this demo, and we put this trailer together, and it was like, oh wow, this is like really crazy,
Right.
and it started getting like some pretty good feedback. I've been able to go to Evo and everything because of Black Salt Corruption, and then I was met so many pro players and different people in the gaming community that they saw the gameplay from Corrupt, started asking all these questions, like getting super excited about it. So then we were like, oh, okay, this might be something here too, So then we started speaking to publishers. We had so many publishers reaching out, and I was fortunate to meet an investment partner who was like, hey, you know what? Let's make this thing crazy. Like let's see what you're trying to do. I see the build initially, and let's make it happen. And that was one of the hardest things. More than anyone, that was one of the hardest things. Is like trying to find the right partner for the project, because so many times, like you said, there's people that, because of like Black Panther's success, there's so many people that want to get into a black superhero but don't really care about like they don't care about anything about like, oh yeah, black people don't actually need to own it, all that stuff. Like they don't really care about
They just
that. So
it's just the exploitation element of it rather than the authenticity.
right, they're like, hey, you're creating it, you don't need to own it, don't even worry about it. It's like
Mhm.
that doesn't make sense. So yeah, Corrupt though is the main. So this is the main Corrupt storyline. So this is gonna have a lot of like a heavy cinematic story. Destroy, the character that's up now, will be voiced by Patrick right here, yours truly. um,
Yeah.
and I am working on bringing some more. I really want to get a crazy like. I'd like to get some big names involved to the voice acting, just because I just think that'd be so dope. I think that's one of the biggest things. Like you said earlier, it's something that we have to champion, but at the same time, I can understand, the black community. We sometimes, man, ghetto movies, like B movies that we used to have, like way back when. Like, I remember my dad used to come home with like so many different movies from Blockbuster, like Family Video, and it would be like,
Right.
what is this movie? And it looks like you filmed it with,
Oh, the
like,
bootlegs.
man, like it was like, and not even just a bootleg of a movie, but it was like, what cast is this? Like, it's just a random black production that was like, I feel you, but like, what's happening? So it's
Right.
like the
Right.
quality, that's the biggest thing that I want people to know is like, this isn't just some like, oh yeah, we're just trying to do it to capitalize, or oh, I'm just doing it for like. No, my plan is to make Gatling and Destroy. Like when you see this story, you're gonna feel like these characters can go toe to toe with Goku and Superman and characters like that. And I think
Okay,
it's
so now that you're talking about characters, I kind of want to introduce these characters to the people, and I'm seeing some questions. I definitely want to get to like a Q&A. I'm seeing it's mostly people making fun of me. I mean, I made a show called Roast Me. I get it.
yeah.
But all the gamers in here, we will get to your questions in just a second. I definitely want to go character by character. I want to know, who these characters are, how you made them, because like you said, in your mind, your main characters, Gatling and Destroy, you want them to be as big or bigger than Goku and Vegeta. So let's start with Gatling. Gatling is the one who's getting his ass whooped right now. This is the main character, the white-haired samurai. Who is Gatling?
So Gatling, he's the main hero of the story. He's a chosen hero. So the sword that he wields is actually created by these celestial beings that are called the Omek Shah,
Mhm.
and they created these ancient weapons. It was these two rifles, a sword, and an axe. And Gatling is the hero that was selected and chosen to actually be able to wield that sword. And the sword's name is Celeste. And the sword itself will actually have a voice in AI and actually syncs with Gatling's like mind and thought process. So there's a lot of times where you'll see where Gatling doesn't even necessarily need to even reach for his sword, and it will come to where he needs it.
Oh, that's dumb.
So there's just certain things that he's like actually linked up with his sword. But
He's like the Thor of samurai.
so yeah, like kind of like the like how Thor can like call his hammer, and
Right.
then you have his biggest power is speed. So Gatling, and to not give away too much, but in one of the comic books, he discovers how fast he is because through training he accidentally cuts through time, and discovers that like he uses what's called quantum power. So like his quantum energy allows him to reach speeds that are like crazy. Like I don't want to give too much away, but we will actually be releasing the original comic here very soon on TeamCorruptInc.com,
Okay.
and then we're getting it like completely reimagined for the actual cinematics and stuff in the game. So that's gonna be pretty crazy. But yeah, so he's the main character, very like very confident, cocky guy, but when it comes to like he's like super leader, straight edge, doesn't cuss, doesn't drink, doesn't like Gatling is super
He's the
he's
golden boy. He's your Captain America.
yeah, he's just a good dude. You know what I'm saying? No bad language or anything like that. And almost to the point where it's funny because I almost want him to, in certain circumstances, almost feel corny-ish, just because we don't have any dope character like that. All black characters have to be from something. It's
Right.
like, so it's like this is just that character that's like, no, he's just the perfect representation of like positive.
Right.
Then
Okay.
Destroy on the flip side.
Woo!
So Destroy he's basically like the prince of the underworld. His dad, Dragonoff, which is like the main villain of the Corrupt series, um, he trained Destroy from like literally from when he was a baby to when he could first walk. That's like when he started snapping necks. Like he was training him from then, and he was leading and commanding an army at the age of 13 and on. So Destroy he's like a top ranked assassin. He's taken out a lot of like even mythological monsters and stuff in the Corrupt universe that you'll learn about
Mm-hmm.
that people think don't even exist, and then he has their head is like boom. You know, like he goes hunting for things like that just so that people fear him. And the reason why his mask is broke is actually you'll get that. There's a really dope story that'll be told to that where you'll see where his mask breaks.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where you'll see too, like, oh dang, he's strong. You know, like
Right.
it's next level. So
And he has dreads.
yes.
He has dreads. He has dreadlocks, guys.
Yeah,
Name another superhero besides Static Shock.
man, I didn't even think of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you know he's pretty much like everything opposite to Gatling, but when they meet, when they actually first fight, that's gonna be like it's such a epic story just through combat, you know, where these two completely opposite end um they're both feared in different ways. You know, people look up to Gatling, but then he's also known galactically, like several galaxies and star maps know the hero Gatling. But then on the other end, they know, you know, and fear destroy. So when you finally see that interaction, that's going to be, you know, pretty dope. And that's actually going to be a cinematic in game, and that happens really early on. So I don't want to, you know, give away too much of that.
Right,
But
right, right. And it's
yeah,
crazy because just seeing the progress of it, there are so many characters that got a crazy upgrade from Black Salt Corruption to Corrupt. And I think that Destroy got the biggest one because if you play Black Salt Corruption, he has a staff. His main weapon is a staff. But you done flipped it on everybody. Now in this game, that staff opens up into a full battle axe.
yeah, so I gotta give that to my art team. So I brought on an artist named Wayne Robinson. He's a black artist that worked at Warner Bros. And so many different big comic companies and things. And like he saw the characters originally and fell in love with the idea of it and like the everything that I was telling him. And when he was reading the comics and story, he was like, man, let me do some things. Like I got some ideas to really bring the technology, you know, to a certain level. And it was like, oh man, you know, so then he started, you know, sending me some sketches and I was like, yes, this is definitely it. And then my 3D artist, man, he actually was the one that wanted to go a little bit crazier with Destroy's staff
Right.
because in the story, the kind of power and the kind of attacks that he does with it, he was like, it just wouldn't make sense for it to be a staff with a heavier end and like
Yeah.
we were gonna change it up some, but then he came back with that design and we were like, oh yeah, yep, that's it. We rolling with that.
That's so lit. So does the and this is just, for me personally for Destroy, does the staff extend into a axe or is it permanently an axe?
Yeah, so it will actually the how it's like two blades like that, they actually do come up and it turns into a completely different weapon altogether. And Destroy, you'll see he gets to the point where his power becomes so much that someone he's fighting, the planet they're on, he's able to like project and grow his energy to where he grabs the sun and the moon from that planet and slam them onto that planet to kill the person he's fighting. So he gets to that level of rage.
Moon throw. Moon.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
So
need to know
now you
like
see the dark moon attack. That's his special attack.
so I just need to know I just need to, wrap my head around this. Will we see combos from Destroy where he's beating somebody up with the staff and then it turns into the axe and then he starts putting in work with the axe? Does it work like that or
Um, we'll probably do it through like a special attack because it's not something that he would use normally. It's just something that you would use for like one big attack when he
got
switches.
it? Oh, okay. So is it mainly in the staff realm or mainly in the axe realm?
No, so it's always the axe, but then
Okay.
how that axe is, those blades actually turn and switch up and like,
Oh, so it goes
yeah,
beyond the axe. Okay, just just
yeah.
just wondering, just wondering. It's a lot of Destroy things I gotta keep updated because you're just
Oh
going through.
no, you're fine.
All right, for sure. So, what is the next character on the list?
So then Winry, who's the lead female of the story, she's
Okay.
she's really like the strongest character. The main beef is really between her and Dragonoff. You'll see, and it's something that like there's a lot of build up to it. But basically, Winry is trying to find the heroes that were selected by the Omek Shah to wield the axe and the sword because she needs them to help her in the fight against the corruption. So she's literally just being drawn to where Gatling and Destroy are going to be, and you'll see in the opening of the Corrupt game that in that like opening you'll see where she was drawn to that moment because that's where Gatling and Destroy are gonna meet. So
Okay,
that's
so
meet up.
strongest character in the game, Latina woman. You see, she got the dual energy pistols. That's I mean that's just dope. So I remember in the first game she had like chains on the guns, and you decided to move in a different direction.
Well, yeah. So she's gonna do a lot of. She's gonna be able to even let go of her guns and control them just from a distance. So that's why, from a practicality standpoint, it was like with the chain, it just gets in the way of a lot of stuff.
Right.
And then again, just updated the like design of her guns to kind of show like the energy she's shooting is just pure energy that is coming from her,
Uh,
and it's a gun that's designed to again just shoot that from her. So like you couldn't pick it up and use it. Destroy couldn't. Gatling couldn't because it doesn't actually shoot anything at that point. But she has
right.
to actually have her like power and energy and presence to make them work.
Okay. No, that's dope. I just want to take a minute to address the fans. Appreciate you guys. Just to answer a couple of questions, people are saying that, where can they download it? Where can they play it? It is available on Steam, correct?
Yeah, so Black Salt Corruption is on Steam right now. On Steam Early Access, you can play it, and again the Switch release date we'll have soon. Corrupt, you can just follow my social media to find out more updates. Corrupt actually, I did partner with Rogue Games Inc., so I do have a publisher with that title because some of the stuff that we planned for the rollout, I want to make this thing as big as possible. So trying to line up everything. And what's cool about it is was able to work with I was able to find a publisher that wasn't like, give me all your stuff. We have to own it. They were 100% like, hey, man, this is really dope what you built. We want to be involved. So, like, it's yours. We want to help you with the game. We want to help maximize that. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's super dope. So if you absolutely can't wait, jump on Steam for early access. It is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And now we have this Corrupt game that is less 3D fighting. It's not necessarily the Power Stone Battle Arena Toshinden, running around 3D arena game. This is just straight up it's considered side scrolling, right?
Yeah, side scroll 2.5D, more traditional fighter, you could say, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, just that, right in front of your opponent.
And obviously, I don't want to get you into any legal trouble saying anything you're not supposed to say. But just from the footage that we're looking at and the models that you've been sending me, I mean, it's looking very next gen. You know what I mean? These are looking Mortal Kombat style, if not more advanced. So what's the future for this game? Like what can
Yeah.
you tell us for anybody who's just clamoring to know?
So definitely going to be having those conversations soon with the platforms. Been building it up. I can 100% say it'll be a PC title right now. But no, definitely the plan is next gen platforms. So I just have to go in and now have those meetings. But yeah, it definitely our focus is next gen and PC platforms.
Next gen. I don't know if you guys know what that means. Like I said, not trying to get him in any trouble, but next gen means whatever the new PlayStation might be, whatever the new Xbox might be, whatever the new Nintendo might be. These new consoles that are going to show us the future of gaming. There is a game in the works that will be on the lineup that is all black superheroes. So if you can think about the impact of that, that's why I'm so excited that this is on All Def Gaming, because I definitely want us to follow this game, because let this become the next Mortal Kombat. Let this become the next Street Fighter. And then this whole thing about, Jesse being dressing up as Batman and being judged. Batman's not black, you're black, blah, 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 blah. This could change that. The same way that Black Panther, regardless of what people say about Black Panther not being black owned, it still helped the culture. You know what I mean? There are videos of young kids, not even black kids, saying just like, "I'm T'Challa. Who are you? I'm, you know what I mean? I'm Killmonger." You know what I mean? And that is very, very, very important. You know what I mean? Like we overlook things like that, but moves like that, moves like, when Barbie started making black people. You know what I mean? When G.I. Joe started making, and now these kids could go and find representation. That is very, very, very important. If you don't believe me, think about everything that you were looking at when you were a kid. So I just wanted to make
It gives us a
stop and
lot
say all
of
that.
creatives a platform. I feel too, like because now I think it lets you kind of see like, okay, I don't have to stay in this bubble with a black character. I don't have to tell a story about basketball, rap, or he was a general in the military. Like he can, or he's from Africa. You can be anything. So I think it'll help more black creatives kind of come out of their shell and be like, all right, I'm gonna tell this crazy story I've had. Because I've got a lot of friends that are anime heads that are black that have crazy ideas, and I'm like, what? But like, it could work as an anime,
Mhm.
and they want to have black characters in it, and it's like, why not? But
Right.
they're never going to share those kind of ideas because you see what it is like, where I can't wait. I actually got it pre downloaded and everything, but like you said, Final Fantasy 7, that's coming out tonight. We're all excited about it, and the black character is like, come on Cloud, let's go.
I don't care, Jesse.
I'm
I
in.
don't
I'm already
care.
9 o'clock. I have everything set and ready for this. It's
The
already down.
90s were a different time, Jesse. Okay. Like we talked about before, those Japanese people didn't have no black friends. That's who they saw on black TV. So if anything, it's the Americans' fault. That's how we were depicting black
Hey,
people.
that's true
That's
though.
all that they saw. So that's really like a reflection of us.
Man, I
Okay,
can't wait for that game.
I do want to say this. I want to. Obviously, the creative aspect is something that I'm very, very interested in. But almost equally, I am interested in the business aspect of all of this stuff. I mean, like, to me, you are to me, if I was somebody in this traditional gaming business, you are a threat. You're young, you're black, and you have this thing that could potentially, this IP that could potentially compete with all these other games, but you also have the backup of being new and authentic, which in this day and age, like, hopefully, fingers crossed, our culture and the cultures around us gravitate to this and lift it up, because if that happens, these dudes will be shook. So some of my favorite stories that, when you call me and let me know, the things that I feel like I'm prodding and picking at the most is really like how you're navigating around this business, because you're telling me stories of these people with millions and millions of dollars hitting you up and saying wild stuff, and people trying to like almost like deceive you and make you turn on people around you, and like this ain't no game. Like, this is a $1 billion industry. So if they see that you're a threat, or if they see that they can get over on you and steal this shit from you, they will do this. And if they see what you see, which is like, damn, this could be a $1 billion property, you must be dealing with the shadiest low life element of the business on a daily basis. So for anybody, there's a lot of random people in here roasting and stuff like that, but for anybody who is serious about their craft and really trying to get into, and forget gaming, this is just how it is. The reason I pay so much close attention to these talks that I have with you is because it's bigger than gaming. It doesn't matter what the genre is. If you're a threat, and if you have something that can be successful, you're gonna have wolves at your door every single day. So it doesn't matter the genre. What how is it navigating this business in the position that you're in, and how do you deal with these industry wolves?
Yeah, so definitely, it's that was one of the probably the craziest wake up call for me is how the industry in just entertainment and gaming, like you said, like how it all kind of works. Um, like I for real started in a dorm room calling like cold calling game companies like I've got a great idea, man, we should do it, right?
Right.
And it was like, man, this isn't it at all. So learning from like starting from that point and then getting to, you know, once I got to a point where I had a demo, I was like, okay, honestly, what I told myself is I want to find black investors. I want to find black money. I want to be able to find some investors that, because that'll help me, be able to just get it to the culture a little bit easier. That was kind of the biggest thing was, maybe I'll even meet, and I just won't even say names, but maybe I'll meet big celebrities, that look like me that'll definitely want to jump in, and of course they're gonna help. They talk about it all the time, and just learn that even the craziest thing is, sadly, so many. I've learned that people in business, when it comes to entertainment, like the threat aspect, the people that look like us are some like with crazy money are the hardest to deal with when it was trying to get a property through like this, because they were like, okay, well, my influence or my this or that should, dictate 90%. I should own this, I should have this, or and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm giving you a finished game. How do you get 90% of that for telling people about it? And it's just, there's so many situations that have been like that. But
So it's really just about standing your ground.
yeah, knowing what you want. So knowing what you want is the biggest thing ever. So that's, yeah, like, because I've always known the kind of the end result, like what I want for the characters, what I want for the story, what I want for the game overall. Nobody can kind of derail me, because then when they're like, oh, I could give you this right now, or we could do this, or it's like, okay, but how do we get to my plan here? And they're like, oh, don't worry about that. Let's do this. But this is what my team is focused on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So knowing what you want and knowing what I've wanted this whole time is literally the thing that saved me through everything. Because I've even had situations. I just another situation the other day. I found out like there's an investor had I worked with, I would have potentially been in some crazy trouble with it, because, like you said, the sharks, they're doing crazy, shady deals here and there, and it's like, you don't ever know. You meet them and they talk to you crazy and act like you're extremely insignificant, but then they're like, offer some big amount of money, and you're like, wait a second, if I don't mean crap, why would you give me that kind of money? So it's like, knowing what you want is the craziest thing.
and
That's
it,
a that's
and
a
what's awesome is that, like, seeing you stand your ground is definitely helping me, within all the deals that I get, because any creatives, I really want you guys to pay attention to this, because this is this is not just within gaming. Knowing what you want out of your creations is across the board, because if you created it, you get to make the rules around it. And a lot of times they try to distract you with other stuff, to make you just lose sight of what you originally wanted. And just to say some stuff that I feel like Jesse wouldn't say himself, Jesse has told me stories where I feel like these dudes, and a lot of these guys are white older men in Hollywood with money, they tried to play on Jesse's blackness, the same way that a lot of record labels try to play on the blackness of upcoming rappers and singers by saying, like, offering stuff like Lambos and the cars and the glitz of it, when that can make you lose sight of, like, oh snap, while I was, at this party with all these girls and with these new car keys, I've totally forgot that my project, they just took 90% of it. What the hell happened? You know what I mean? They tried to sort of like do this whole like, hey, look over here while doing this, on the side. So I just want to let you guys know that that kind of stuff is happening even on a cultural level. They tried to play on this man's blackness to get a sweeter deal out of it, and it didn't work. So
It
yes.
also, another thing to that, they do like, there's a lot of situations where it does feel like the movie The Blind Side or something. You know, they feel like they're discovering you and they're giving you everything. So it's like, uh, but they always think you're in that situation, or you're like in the worst, and it's like, you know, that's not the case with every black person. We're not all what you're thinking. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes, especially when I think of like some of the things some people have said to me, I'm like, man, I my dad has been in my life my whole life. You know what I'm saying? And like he's one of my biggest, inspirations, and one of the people I look up to and look at as a strong leader. And he's been a coach and been in so many crazy leadership positions. Even while I was a kid. So it's like I'm not coming from somewhere where you can talk to me crazy and I'm like, okay, or oh, I don't know any better. It's like, and I feel like they do think, to your point, I feel like when you're black, they do think, oh, okay, he ain't got anything. So let me come to him. If I just offer him, whatever, he's gonna jump to it because most black people are super creative, but they create with nothing.
Right.
So it's like it's kind of crazy.
No, that's insane, and I just want to make one very very important point because shout out to the people who are jumping in the comments asking, "Can I invest? Where can I invest?" The cool thing about this project is this isn't really a project like I feel like a lot of I don't want to say this in a negative way, but there are a lot of black owned movement or businesses that kind of play into the whole we're black so please support us, like give us, I mean, we need your money, we're black, so if you support us then XYZ. This isn't that, and I'm really glad that it's at this stage before we presented it to you. Like, this is a game that does not need investment at this point, and I think that's why the gaming industry is freaking out, because they're used to having people in that position. Oh, you don't have money? Well, then let me XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Jesse was smart enough to not only build the entire game himself so that they didn't really need to invest, but now he has enough interest and connections where he can pretty much make what he wants happen. And that freaks people out because now it's like they can't help him. So what's dope about this game is that they really can't, he doesn't need anything. He's, you know what I mean? So these people are freaking out trying to figure out like how to shit on him, because usually the number one way to shit on somebody is to hear the pitch and then just add something that you feel like is needed. Even if they think the pitch is perfect, they'd be like, well, I mean, it's okay, but if they did XYZ, it'd be perfect, which is just their input. And then they can use that as leverage to say, I want to own this much. So what's cool about this game is that they did everything that they needed to on their own. So now that they don't need really like any type of handouts, all they need is y'all support when it drops. You know what I mean? That's really it. That's really it. We need to, if there was, I mean, I wasn't alive when it happened, but if there was a chance to catch Black Panther on the upcoming and be a part of the thing that brought that to mainstream, you would for sure want to be part of that. So that's really the coolest thing about that, is that it really doesn't need the traditional help that all these hungry producers are looking for.
Yeah, and that is a very big point. And that's something I actually almost have to reiterate in conversations with people, like, oh no, I'm not asking you for your money. I didn't That's not what we're here for. Like you see the characters, my art team, like the team that I have, my animators, like my team, they're super talented. Every time they turn stuff in, I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy, and like we're having a really good time building it too. So it's also like, you know, everyone always thinks that's what you're looking for. Like, oh, you must be looking for a handout or something like that. And it's like, no, biggest thing I'm looking for is, like you said, the if I could get that larger support from, like, craziest thing to me. Mortal Kombat 11. I play the game a lot, and man, Spawn just dropped it. It's very dope. But Mortal Kombat 11, uh, the whole promo for it, rap songs. 21 Savage. Uh, I think they even had Juice World, Ice Cube. Like, it's all rap. There isn't a drip of a hip hop beat or bass line in the game, but it's like they knew what would bring you to it or make you excited
Right.
about it.
It
But
lured us in there with the
like,
commercial.
then the black characters are Jax and a black dude, the Lion Claw, that is kept through time, like, or a slave of time or some crap. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, it was just crazy. Like, you use a lot of rap. I was expecting maybe a 21 Savage song or something in the game, but we didn't
Right.
get that. And it's
Nope.
like, that's where I'm like, this is a game where we can do that. I want this to even be something that rappers can see as a platform. Like, man, that'd be dope. Because it's like, what are you listening to when you're streaming? Probably rap or hip hop. You hear a lot of people listening to that, while
Right.
they're online. And it's like, just to be able to have something, bring that kind of energy to it. Like, I want to have that behind it. I think that's a really big thing to it.
That's a very big thing. And another thing I probably wasn't gonna bring up, but I feel like you won't, so I'll be the one to do it. I'll take the heat.
I'm being safe.
One thing that I noticed from watching this game get to where it is now is, and I'm not going to name anybody by names, but the lack of support from black people in positions that they could help. You know what I mean? You guys, I just want to tell the all deaf audience, you guys would be disgusted by the amount of black celebrities who go on social media and say, support black businesses, support this, support this, support this, support this. But behind closed doors, when they're being hit up by these companies that they're saying to support, they're like, nah, it's not worth my time. And it's
or it's give
insane.
me everything or nothing.
It's insane. Like, you guys think that the whole crabs in a bucket thing is just something that happens every now and then before our eyes, but it's like, no, 9 times out of 10, that phrase was invented by somebody who was on the inside, who saw just how often it was happening. And it comes down to what Kevin Hart said when he was criticized for putting on Tiffany Haddish and all these people. It's just like, it all comes down to asking ourselves, like, what do we want? Like, our culture, what exactly do we want? Because when we try to help out and reach out to people and bring up black owned businesses, we're judged for it. Y'all niggas talk shit. But then when we don't, y'all also talk shit. So what I'm saying is, like, Jesse is on the phone with these people who are outwardly rappers, actors, whatever, who are outwardly trying to, put on this image of, like, yeah, help black people, blah, 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 blah. But he's getting meetings turned down from these people. He's getting in meetings and them saying, like, nah, I'm good. Or can I own most of it? And they're like, bro, this is against everything that you're telling people. So I just want the all deaf audience to know that, like, it comes down to y'all, because these celebrities who are claiming that they're putting other black people, other Latino people on, they're just not. They're just not. And if it was my game, I would be saying everything. I'd be like, this nigga didn't help me, this dude didn't help me, this dude didn't help me. But this is Jesse. I'm not trying to get other people in trouble. That's me. But I just need to say that, because all of these celebrities that are claiming to want to push the culture and help, they're seeing this happen, and they're getting this on their on their desks, and they're not doing anything about it. They're either shitting on it or trying to take over, which is just like against everything that they're going for. So it really comes down to y'all as consumers to make it hot, because I'm gonna be honest, like, the game is pretty much buzzing without it being available to consumers. Like, a lot of the industry is buzzing about it, which is why a lot of those people are changing their minds and hitting you up now. But it's really gonna take is a buzz, a genuine buzz from y'all, and then that's going to make all these people wake up. And then when it's hot, then they're going to be like, oh yeah, now's the time to support black businesses. but it's like these people are not what you think. That's all I want to say. So it all comes down to y'all and y'all support. So that's all I could. That's really all I could say on it.
I appreciate you saying that, but
Yeah,
that's
man.
definitely the case. Yeah.
So I just want to kind of talk about a few more things before we get up out of here. I think we covered a lot of the main stuff pretty well. Publisher versus no publisher. What's the
Yeah.
difference? And what do
So
you suggest to other people?
so that all comes down to, I would say, the creative themselves. Like, what is the scope of the game you're creating? Or if you're looking like, okay, I want to make this an esport, I want to make this really big, I want to have a large community behind it. You have to think, who's going to talk to that community every day, who's going to help you with organizing the events, who's going to help, like, so it all depends on that. Like, there's certain creatives who have a really dope idea for like a platformer, or I think I saw you playing the game Journey the other day.
Oh
Like
yeah.
Journey, you have an idea for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even necessarily think you need a publisher to kind of tell that story.
No.
But when you come to something that's like big, multiplayer, or trying to create an esport and get a lot of people behind it, I think it's best to work with a publisher, just because they're thinking of the things that you're not. And if you can find the right publisher that matches with you, because let me not say every publisher is right. You know what I'm saying? That's not the case. But when you find a publisher that gets what you're trying to do, and you look at their track record, they've done it. They've been in that situation, and they definitely will think of things you haven't. That is one thing I can say for sure. Like with Black Salt Corruption, and already just some of the process with COREUPT, there's things that the publisher have said where I'm like, oh, yep, that's a good idea. So
Right.
I would definitely say it comes down to the creative. Like, what is your scope?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Bet. No, for sure. I definitely want to have gameplay on All Def Gaming. If there's, what I mean, we got Kadeem on the ones and twos, as I like to call him, the tech side of things. He just, figured out a way to play remotely like this together. So there is going to be a lot of like gameplay footage on the All Def channel, on the All Def Gaming channel. I definitely want to show the audience both games. Really, we might as well, and just like show them some gameplay. Really, really let them meet the characters. And yeah, I just kind of want to expose the audience to this, so we can kind of just get you guys either waiting for it or jumping on Steam and playing it. And always feel free to hit Jesse up. Let him know what you think about the game, any updates. Definitely follow him. Let him know where you can find everything.
So Twitter is at JW_correlated, and it's spelled CORELATED. So just like how COREUPT is. And then Instagram at JW_COREUPT, spelled just like the game. And then the website, teamcorrupt.inc.com, is going to have all the new information, character descriptions. We'll have a store on there where we'll have different stuff. Like I've got the Gatling shirt on, but
Nice.
we'll have different merchandise and stuff for the characters. But yeah, that's the best places to reach me. You can always, other developers and creatives, any game development questions, feel free. I'm always open to talk about games.
All right, so I'm gonna just put it in the chat for all you guys trying to figure out the spelling. It is JW Corrupt. Follow that for any updates. Again, this is where we've actually been talking about two games. This is Black Salt Corruption, which is out right now on Steam and is coming to Nintendo Switch at some point. All this Corona stuff is crazy. And then we also have COREUPT, which is the gameplay footage that you guys are seeing. And that is more of a traditional fighter that is also coming soon on the next generation platforms. So again, I would love to thank my guest Jesse Wright. Again, you guys, please follow him, follow this game. we are counting on y'all. We are counting on y'all to really show this game and expose it, because I'm not even just saying this because I'm a voice on the game. This could change things, you know, in the same way that there's just not a lot of up to par superheroes that are messing with Spider-Man and Marvel and DC and all that kind of stuff. But you know, if you guys are liking these characters and liking what you're seeing, we could start something. Y'all don't even know. You never know. The power of the internet is crazy. You guys have seen it within the past 10 years. So again, you know, any final thoughts, anything you want the people to look out for?
No, that's really it. Again, I want to thank All Def for this, you know, the exposure and just this opportunity. And you know, it's glad to, like I was saying earlier, glad to see All Def back making content regularly, and you know, just dope to see you guys back here, especially during these times, man. It's good to get some good laughs in. So
For
yeah.
real. No, absolutely. And we definitely want to have you in the game back on the channel. Guys, make sure you're subscribing to All Def Gaming. We have a lot of stuff that's, you know, sort of BTS like this. But not only that, a lot of gameplay footage, man. We're planning trivia. We got a podcast. Arcade Tokens got a podcast that's going to start dropping on Saturdays. It's a lot of dope content coming up. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Jesse Wright. And again, follow Corrupt and Black Salt Corruption. Go ahead and follow him on all sites, all socials, and just make sure you're keeping up to date. Again, I have been Patrick Cloud. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.